What would it take to seal off an entire island for 162 years and make sure almost no one ever finds out what's living inside? Because that's exactly what's been done to a 69 square mile piece of Hawaii that sits in plain view of one of the most popular tourist destinations in the world. You can see it from Kauaʻi on a clear day, just sitting there on the horizon, but you can't go. No outsider can explain exactly what daily life looks like. There's no high-speed internet there and no phone service for most residents.
What's ever behind that wall has been untouched since 1864, and the people who've seen it say it contains things that exist almost nowhere else in Hawaii. It's all at risk of disappearing, and almost nobody's talking about it.
The island is called Niihau, the smallest inhabited island in Hawaii, and most people know it by its nickname, the Forbidden Island. And to understand why it's forbidden, what it's protecting, and what happens when it's gone, you have to go back to 1864 and meet a woman named Elizabeth Sinclair.
Sinclair was a Scottish-born rancher who had been living in New Zealand. She sailed to Honolulu looking for land, and King Kamehameha IV offered her an island.
The king died before the sale went through, but his brother, who took the throne, completed it. The price for an entire Hawaiian island, 69 square miles of coastline, grassland, and volcanic terrain, $10,000.
And you probably couldn't buy a parking spot in Waikiki for that.
Now, Elizabeth Sinclair managed an entire island purchase with a handshake and a $10,000 check. Running a business in 1864 was simpler. Today, not so much, which is where Odoo, today's video sponsor, comes in.
Odoo is an all-in-one business management platform that brings together every tool you need into a single system. CRM, inventory, accounting, sales, project management. Instead of juggling 10 different apps that don't talk to each other, everything lives in one place. Need to send a quote? A few clicks. Need to track inventory in real time? It's already synced. Their accounting AI has a 98% recognition rate on invoices. You basically just hit confirm. The thing I appreciate about Odoo is that you only pick the apps you actually need. You're not paying for 50 features you'll never touch. Any single app is free, and you can try the full suite with a free 14-day trial, no credit card required. Our link is in the description below. Okay, now that our business is organized, back to the story.
So for $10,000, Elizabeth Sinclair bought an entire Hawaiian island. But the king who sold it to her made her promise something. He told Sinclair that a day might come when the Hawaiians weren't as strong in Hawaii as they were then.
And when that day came, he asked her to do what she could to help them.
The Sinclair family took that request seriously, maybe more seriously than anyone could have predicted. Ownership passed down through the generations, eventually landing with the Robinson family. And over the decades, the Robinsons didn't just maintain the island, they sealed it off. No alcohol, no tobacco, no guns, mandatory church on Sundays. And starting in the 1930s, a near-total ban on outsiders, originally to protect residents from diseases like measles and polio that were sweeping through the rest of Hawaii. And that ban never really lifted. Today, the island is run by two brothers, Keith and Bruce Robinson, direct descendants of Elizabeth Sinclair. Between Niʻihau and their holdings on Kauaʻi, they control roughly 100,000 acres of Hawaiian land. That's more than Larry Ellison, the billionaire who bought 98% of the island of Lanai. The Robinsons aren't billionaires.
But they've held on to this place through every economic pressure, every real estate boom, every offer from developers who would love to turn 68 square miles of untouched Hawaiian coastline into the most exclusive resort on Earth.
They've said no, every time. While the rest of Hawaii was being developed, resorts going up, wetlands getting drained, coastlines getting hardened, this island just sat there. No construction, no tourism, no coastal lights, no runoff from hotels or golf courses.
And nature noticed.
The Hawaiian monk seal is one of the most endangered marine mammals on Earth. About 1,400 left, found nowhere else. And both of their closest relatives, the Caribbean and Mediterranean monk seals, are either extinct or nearly there.
In the main Hawaiian Islands, monk seals face a nightmare of threats.
Fishing gear entanglement, dog attacks, toxoplasmosis from feral cats, and the biggest one, human disturbance. These animals need undisturbed beaches to rest, to molt, and above all, to give birth. A mother monk seal won't eat for up to 6 weeks while nursing her pup. If she's startled off a beach during that window, the pup can die. On most Hawaiian beaches, keeping humans 50 feet away from resting seals requires full-time volunteers, ropes, and signage. On Niʻihau, there are no tourists to manage, no beachgoers with selfie sticks, no unleashed dogs. The The Robinsons say the seal population on their shores has been growing for decades, and that conditions there are better than government refuges on the remote northwestern Hawaiian Islands. Nobody outside the family can verify that claim independently, but the U.S. has designated Niihau's entire coastline as critical habitat for monk seal recovery. And that designation tells you something. The federal government believes those beaches matter for the survival of the species.
About 50 years ago, a botanical team surveying Niihau found something that wasn't supposed to exist.
On the edge of a steep coastal cliff where salt mist drifts up from the breaking ocean below, they spotted a small, stunted plant with rounded blue-green leaves. It was sandalwood, a species no one had ever documented on Niihau. The island's Hawaiian-speaking residents had no name for it. There was no oral or written tradition of it ever growing there. Keith Robinson protected that single plant for 10 years as it matured. It finally flowered, set seed, and he germinated seedlings, 10 of them, each growing about an inch a month. They may be the only living descendants of a lineage that clung to one cliff on one island for who knows how long.
Now, botanists aren't sure whether this is a known species, a new variety, or something else entirely. What they do know is that if Keith Robinson hadn't found it and spent half a century protecting it, it would already be gone. And this isn't the only species he's preserving.
On a ridgetop in Kauaʻi, behind electric fences designed to keep out cattle and wire mesh to stop rats, he grows 20 to 30 species of rare and endangered plants, many of them found only on Niihau. He does every phase of the work himself: scouting, seed collecting, germination, planting, fencing, fertilizing, spraying. He hauls everything in on his back, even at 85 years old. But the most irreplaceable thing on Niihau isn't something you can see or touch. It's the language. Everywhere else in Hawaii, the Hawaiian language went through what linguists call the Great Alignment. When missionaries arrived in the 1820s, they created a written alphabet for Hawaiian, but that alphabet left out certain sounds.
Over the following decades, Hawaiian speakers across the islands gradually shifted their pronunciation to match the new written system. Sounds like T that have always been part of spoken Hawaiian got replaced with K. The tap of the tongue that produced an R-like sound in place of L faded away. Everywhere except Niihau.
Because the island was privately owned and largely cut off from missionaries, the residents never made that shift. Their dialect, called Olelo Niihau, preserved pronunciations, vocabulary, and grammatical structures that predate European contact. Linguists who study it have found words, phrases, and sentence constructions that don't appear in any Hawaiian dictionary. The community speaks faster than any other group of native Hawaiian speakers ever recorded.
This isn't a language kept alive by schools or revitalization programs. These are families, grandparents to newborns, who never lost it. They still think in it. They still dream in it. In 2016, the county of Kauaʻi formally recognized Niihau as the last intact community of native traditional Hawaiian speakers anywhere in the world.
And it might now number fewer than 50 people. So what does life actually look like on the inside? The island's only settlement is a small village called Pu'uwai, Hawaiian for heart. There are no paved roads leading to it or anywhere else. No hospital, no police station, no grocery store. Residents get electricity from a handful of solar panels. Water comes from rain catchment systems. Food comes from the ocean, from gardens, or from the land. Transportation is mostly by foot, bicycle, or horseback. When someone gets seriously sick or hurt, a helicopter owned by the Robinson family evacuates them to Kauaʻi.
That helicopter, the one they also use for limited, highly restricted tourist flights to fund its operation, is essentially the island's only operating room.
Residents live rent-free. They don't pay for the land they occupy. But here's the catch. They live under rules set by the Robinson family, and they have no formal say in who gets to visit their home. If you're not a resident, a family member, or someone with a personal invitation from the Robinsons, the island is closed to you.
Period. Now, an island with no stores, no tourism, and no real connection to the outside economy still needs money. So how does Niihau survive financially?
For most of the 20th century, the answer was ranching. The Niihau cattle ranch employed most of the island's residents, but it hadn't turned a real profit in decades, and the Robinsons finally shut it down in 1999. Honey production collapsed around the same time, and charcoal, once a major export, got undercut by cheaper Mexican imports. One by one, the island's economic lifelines disappeared. What replaced them is one of the stranger arrangements in American territory. Sitting atop 1,300-foot cliffs on Niihau is a small U.S. Navy installation, remote-controlled tracking equipment linked to Kauaʻi's Pacific Missile Range facility. Modern missile defense tests for U.S. and its allies run through this site. And even this installation is unmanned. No Navy personnel get to live there.
That single facility accounts for roughly 80% of Niihau's income, giving the island a stable economic base without a single tourist hotel or commercial operation. The rest of the money comes from the ocean. During winter months, tiny shells called poo-poo wash ashore. Yeah, I hear it too.
Species so specific to Niihau that the state passed a law in 2004 to protect the jewelry made from them against counterfeiting. Residents collect the shells by hand and craft them into intricate leis that can sell for thousands of dollars apiece. Fishing, mostly for mullet, accounts for the rest.
That's the entire economy. Missile tracking, shells, fish. And the Robinsons have turned down everything else: sand mining, resort development, large-scale energy projects, to keep it that way.
There's one more dark chapter of Niihau's story that shows just how dramatically the outside world has collided with this place, even when the island tried to keep it out. December 7th, 1941. The same morning Japanese planes struck Pearl Harbor, a fighter pilot named Shigenori Nishikaichi took damage during the attack and couldn't make it back to his carrier. His emergency landing zone had been designated in advance: Niihau. Japanese military planners knew the island was isolated. They assumed it was uninhabited.
And they were wrong. Nishikaichi crash-landed in a field, and the residents of Niihau, who had no radio, no telephone, and no idea a war had just started, did what their culture taught them to do. They welcomed him, they fed him, they treated him as a guest.
It took days for word of the Pearl Harbor attack to reach the island, and when it did, the situation unraveled. Over the course of a week, Nishikaichi attempted to recover classified documents from his downed plane, enlisting the help of 2 island residents of Japanese descent. The standoff escalated to violence. A resident named Ben Kanahele ultimately confronted the pilot and, after being shot 3 times, killed him. The episode became known as the Niihau incident, and its consequences reached far beyond the island.
Military officials pointed to the fact that Japanese Americans on the island had assisted an enemy combatant. And that detail, taken wildly out of context from a community of a few hundred people on a remote island with no information,
was used to help justify the internment of over 120,000 Japanese Americans across the mainland. A decision made on an island of 200 people helped shape one of the darkest civil rights chapters in American history.
The wall that was supposed to protect Niihau didn't hold, and the damage from that didn't stay on the island.
And now all of it, the ecology, the language, the way of life, is under the same threat. The population is shrinking. The 2020 census counted 84 people, down from 170 just a decade earlier. Some accounts suggest the actual number of full-time residents on any given day may be even lower, perhaps 35 to 50. During summer months, when schools let out and families traveled to Kauaʻi to work or to visit relatives, the island can dip to as few as 30 people. Young residents leave for jobs. Those who stay support themselves through subsistence living or by crafting those shell leis, considered among the rarest cultural artifacts in Hawaii.
Now, if those families leave, if the last generation of fluent speakers passes without enough children to carry it forward, what disappears is more than a language. It's the oldest living version of Hawaiian identity. The one that predates the alphabet, the missionaries, the kingdom's collapse, statehood, tourism, all of it.
And it's not just a culture. Without residents on the ground, who monitors those monk seal beaches? Who watches over the last sandalwood on the cliff? Keith Robinson has said it himself. When he's gone, his reserve collapses. His brother Bruce has said the same about the seals.
These aren't government programs with institutional continuity. These are 2 aging brothers holding together a language, a way of life, and one of the last untouched ecosystems in Hawaii. Entirely on their own terms, for better or worse. But walls and the cultures they protect still need people to maintain them.
Niihau's future is unresolved, but until the future forces its way in, it sits where it always has, 17 miles off the coast of Kauaʻi, visible from the beach if the sky is clear. An island where endangered seals pup on empty beaches, where birds breed in wetlands no developer has ever touched, where a single sandalwood clings to a cliff, where families still dream in a language the rest of Hawaii forgot. Close enough to see, too far to reach, and getting quieter all the time.